Citizens speak out. In an effort to provide better lives for themselves and fellow citizens, individuals gather in countries across the globe to demand greater human rights, regime changes, and a say in government. Among these are Bahrain, Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, Egypt, Jordan, Libya, Morocco, Syria, and Yemen.
A new consultative committee in Morocco began receiving proposals intended to bring about an in-depth democratic constitutional review, while Morocco's youth movement held a sit-in reiterating calls for human rights, an independent judiciary, and other economic and social reforms.
In Syria, government forces in Daraa on Monday, March 28th, used live ammunition to disperse hundreds of people, calling for an end to emergency law, the release of political prisoners, and freedom of speech and assembly. CNN reported that security forces in several cities were videotaped, changing into plain clothes and then beating protesters. Reuters journalist Ayat Basma and cameraman Ezzat Baltaji, who had been detained 2 days earlier by the government, were released on Monday. On Tuesday, thousands of government loyalists also took to the streets across the country, expressing their support for the current regime. Later that day, the entire cabinet resigned, with President Bashar al-Assad expected to implement reforms that had been long demanded by protesters, along with creating a new government in the coming days.
Seeking to bring calm following the violent repression of protesters by state security forces last Friday, Jordan's Prime Minister Maruf Bakit stated on Monday that the people have a right to freedom of speech and assembly, as long as they are peaceful, and announced the government would set up places for the citizens to protest. King Abdullah also emphasized the importance of maintaining national unity and reiterated the government's commitment to national reform. Meanwhile, 25 protesters who had been arrested in connection with the violence on Friday were released.
In Egypt, the caretaker military government announced an investigation of charges that military personnel had been involved in torturing citizens. The military also announced an easing of the curfew, while confirming that presidential elections would be held in September and pledging to lift emergency law entirely before then. The ruling military council also approved a law allowing additional political parties that do not discriminate based on sex, language, ethnicity, or religion.
Negotiations continue in Yemen for the immediate and peaceful exit of President Ali Abdullah Saleh, although he has expressed concern that if he leaves without an elected official to replace him, the country could descend into lawlessness and chaos. The president met with a spectrum of people from the Arhab and Nem districts of the capital Sana'a, who expressed support for national dialogue to resolve differences. Meanwhile, Major General Ali Mohsen al-Ahmar stated he would continue to protect protesters and work towards President Saleh's exit.
Regarding Libya, a diplomatic effort was made to secure the exit of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi through a meeting held on Tuesday in London, UK, that brought together representatives from 35 countries, including 7 Arab states, along with Secretary Generals of the United Nations, North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO, and the Organization of the Islamic Conference. Participants agreed on a representative group that will next meet in Qatar to continue coordinating international response, including the delivery of humanitarian aid and a political campaign to support national peace.
During the summit, representatives of the Revolutionaries Libyan National Transition Council also presented an 8-point plan for their nation's future that included creating a multi-party democratic system with voting rights for all citizens, as well as establishing trade unions and ensuring shared benefit of the nation's economy. Speaking later to the press, British Foreign Secretary William Hague read a letter received from a Revolutionary Council member in the besieged city of Misrata, conveying the people's thanks for the protective relief provided by the coalition forces' airstrikes. The letter went on to state that there had not been a single case of injury in the city from the UN strikes, and that they had been accurate and efficient in saving civilians.
In deep sadness for the lives lost, we pray for a ceasing of the conflict in all nations, and that people of every culture and faith may choose to live side by side in shared freedom, dignity, and peace.
In sorrowful response to these unfortunate world events, Supreme Master Ching Hai lovingly reminds, if the road is wrong, the more we walk on it, the more we go wrong. Any leaders who committed harm to others should stop at once, sincerely repent to God, and act to redeem their mistaken deeds. Then they will be pardoned. Even if humans can't forgive, heaven will.
We don't have to go on snatching land, nor have we to hurry on converting man. It's not how many in a belief system, is what become of them. It's not how crowded a religion, it's how much into world peace their contribution. It's not our words, It's rather louder, our actions. What is going to be our legend in the long history of humans? Will it be right and just? Will it be noble and benevolent? Why always boast about our root, O Almighty God's beloved children, while our life is tainted with all evils, while our survival is the cost of others' extinctions? What is the mark of the chosen? Is it just the bloodstain on your hands? Be it from animals or man's. Excerpt from a poem by Supreme Master Ching Hai, The Real Love.